Yeah, I'm just asking a bunch of maybe noob sounding simple questions because I want to just make this kind of like resource for people.
Listen, my goal is to explain DeFi to the least sophisticated DeFi user.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, Gabriel.
Oh, pleasure to be here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we have a lot of, crypto DeFi stuff to talk about. Maybe because I really do want to make crypto and DeFi more approachable for like the everyday person. A lot of the people listening right now don't even know what DeFi stands for. So if you could, explain what it means and why we should be excited about it, that would be a great start.
Okay, so this is my approach here. First of all, we have to understand what Bitcoin is. And Bitcoin is a non-sovereign money. What does that mean? It means that it's money that isn't controlled or run by any state. That's a pretty big deal, right? All the money that we're used to using, dollars or shekels or whatever, it's all created by the centralized government, right? And to have Bitcoin is to have, a currency or a money, a form of value outside of the system. That's one of the big benefits. Of course, there's many other benefits. It's liquid, you can sell at any time, it's easy to transfer, and all this kind of stuff. But for the purposes of DeFi, I mean, the big issue here is that we have this currency, right, that exists outside of these systems, but natively Bitcoin doesn't do much, right? It does just transfers, essentially, a little bit more, but essentially that's it. And we have all sorts of other financial activities that people would like to do with their funds, borrowing, lending, and all sorts of different things. And that's what DeFi is. So DeFi is the ecosystem in which you have the ability to do these financial transactions in a way that exists outside the context of the government, and permissionless. The idea is permissionlessness means that there's no one that can stop you from interacting on the network, and there's no one that can interfere with kind of change the books. So that, in a nutshell, is what DeFi is. It's decentralized finance. It's the ability to do financial transactions in a permissionless and open source way.
Yeah, thank you for that. And it is actually a huge deal because obviously this means everything, all of Wall Street, all old school financial institutions are threatened by DeFi, by decentralized finance. And the question is, and there's definitely the bears and the bulls, whether over the next, say, 10, 20 years, everything will be DeFi, and, Wall Street, the city of London, as we know them, will basically either go with the times and go over into like a decentralized protocol, or whether they'll be crushed, which is what I think is more likely, by new players. Probably, I have a feeling you're very biased, but what's your take on this?
I mean, I think that it's going to be quite a struggle. I don't think this is going to be a very simple process at all. I think that these traditional financial institutions will need to adapt in order to be competitive. So I think that they won't just disappear necessarily. I don't know if they'll get crushed even. They might be able to, adjust, but, DeFi is so much easier to use. It's much cheaper. It's much faster. and it's just more efficient. So eventually, I think the technology and the system of DeFi is going to win out. But that's, there's a lot there's a lot going on. I mean, it's going to be a very long process, and I think that banks will start to integrate into different forms of DeFi. And yeah, I've heard people say that there's going to be two different types of finance that exist on Ethereum or blockchain, and that is kind of a KYC type finance where you have to put in your information in order to interact with the blockchain, like Nexus Mutual, for example, it does something like that. And there'll be true DeFi where you won't have to. I mean, in the former, banks and stuff and states will interact with those. And in the latter, there's going to be basically no KYC. It's going to be a lot more rogue. And that's like, I don't know, cover finance, cover protocol, for example. I mean, it's just two sides of the same coin, but they're servicing different markets. And they're going to have to adopt this technology because it's just new technology. It's just better. It's like saying, oh, we're not going to use iPhones. It's just not going to be possible at some point.
Yeah. So you're saying we are headed toward this sort of more decentralized world, but not necessarily, it's going to take a longer time. Is this correct? Is this sort of what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be a very quick process. I think that there's many people that have very strong incentives to keep the status quo, right? So in that situation where we have very powerful, wealthy people who run traditional finance, they're not going to just say, okay, yeah, we're just gonna go over to this other stuff and undercut our business. Like it just doesn't make sense, right? So they'll fight pretty strongly, lobbying in the government and doing all those sorts of stuff, taking out their friends to fancy dinners. And and in that way, there's going to be a lot of trouble to move to this, like, kind of utopian dream that we all have where it's just, easy and all this kind of stuff. But it's going to take a long time, I think, and it's not going to be super easy to get there because people are making money as it is, and they don't want to change the rules so that they start not making money.
Yeah, for sure. So on that note, how do you actually personally get started in crypto, and how do you get into crypto in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, in general, you have to use it. That's really the only way to know. I mean, in order to learn how to do this kind of stuff, there's only so much you can learn from reading and watching. You have to start to interact with all these different protocols, and that requires a lot of patience and interest and passion in the subject, because it's not very easy right now to interact with these projects, but it's not insanely difficult, right? It's not learning how to code. It's just knowing how to do certain processes, and once you understand how to do those things and understand the concepts and you understand them by using them, then you get the hang of it. But it does take time. I mean, it's not easy by any stretch of the imagination, and this industry is growing rapidly by the day. So in order to keep up, I mean, it's almost impossible unless you want to be in it full time. But you can still benefit greatly from the ecosystem, even if even if you just spend a few hours a day, or a few hours a week on it.
Okay,
Because
so like if I want to get started, right? I have no background. I'm not technical. I have
yeah,
no background in crypto. And like, what's my first step? I buy some Ethereum or some Bitcoin on some exchange, or what do I do?
yeah, you buy some, first of all, I don't deal much with Bitcoin. I deal mostly with Ethereum. I'm mostly on Ethereum. Like
Yeah.
that's where all the innovation is happening. So that's where I spend most of my time. So in order to start to participate, what you need to do is you need to go on Coinbase or Binance and buy Ethereum, and then move it into probably a MetaMask wallet. And MetaMask is just a wallet. It's a web wallet that exists in your browser, and it allows you to connect to all these different applications. So once you have some Ethereum in your MetaMask wallet, then you can interact with DeFi. And each time you do a transaction, it costs a little bit of Ethereum, right? So at the beginning, it's going to be pretty expensive, and you're not going to be making money. You're probably going to be losing money when you make these transactions. But the best thing to do is to interact with some of the most basic ones. For example, Compound. So Compound allows you to borrow and lend tokens. And in this new situation, when you're just getting started, getting familiar with like USDC, which is a dollar stable coin, is something that is going to be critical for understanding how DeFi works. And USDC is just a token that represents $1 in a bank account. It's very simple. So you can right now go on Compound, and you can earn approximately 15% annually on your USDC. And when you compare that with your bank account, it's probably 100 times or more what you're making in your bank account. And Compound is relatively secure in the sense that it's never been hacked. It has a very good team. So I would feel very comfortable leaving money there for a long period of time. So if you have some Ethereum and you have some USD coin, which you can also buy in Coinbase, or you can use Uniswap, which is also a very integral part of how DeFi works. Uniswap allows you to exchange between different tokens. That's exactly what I would do. So I would try to acquire some Ethereum, acquire some USD coin, and then deposit that USD coin into Compound and start to gain some interest.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds like that sounds like, anyone can do that for sure. And then like the next step, if you want to kind of like, yeah, get deeper into the space, is there like 2 or 3 main, I don't know, online, forums, or maybe online newspapers, where to get your news, basically, if you're deeper into this?
I don't go with any news per se. Twitter is the main hub for all the information in crypto, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
Now, it is quite hard to curate, a good feed. But if you're new to the space and you want to just learn what's going on, there's some people that do really good content, and Bankless is really good. The Defiant is really good. And again, this is not really news. It's not news per se, but I mean, they do talk about current events sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also DeFi Dad is very good. Again, it's not news; it's more like tutorials and stuff.
Mm.
I don't really go with after like news other than from Twitter, like the Twitter feed. But I think that listening to podcasts and like understanding how people are thinking about their projects is a really good way to start to learn more.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. And what was I saw you talk a lot about Gitcoin on your Twitter. Could you maybe explain what Gitcoin is, and why you're using it.
Yeah, Gitcoin is a crowdfunding platform that is focused on crypto projects. Now, they have a unique feature, which is called this idea of quadratic funding. And quadratic funding means that the more people that contribute to a particular grant, the more funding they're going to get by a funding pool. It's kind of like a matching bonus.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean? So if 10 people, there's 2 people that are actually contributing to these different grants. There's the funding pool, which is a bunch of different projects, big projects within crypto. The Ethereum Foundation, Kraken, Chainlink, SushiSwap, Uniswap, Badger, all of these projects committed a certain amount of funds to the Gitcoin ecosystem for this round. And there's also community members, people like you and me who contribute, use these different, applications and, want to give back, right? Mm-hmm. So if 10 people, contribute 10 DAI to my grant, I'm actually going to receive an exponential boost from the funding pool. I'm going to get a pretty nice matching bonus from these bigger projects who are funding. But for example, if one person gives me 100 DAI, the bonus I'm going to get is lower from the funding pool. So the idea here is that the more people that benefit from your project, the more funding you're going to get from it, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the idea.
Okay. And obviously you're a creator, you're a community builder, and this is a great way for your community to help you, to support you, right?
It is. I think that it is not the end all be all, though. I think that this is just one tool in the toolkit, and there need to be other tools for community builders to give lock-in, like some sort of incentive to their audience. Mm. And they have this idea of like social tokens, which is one way. But I think that NFTs are going to give a lot of benefit to creators.
Like before we get into NFTs, because that's literally also on my list, can you just talk about social tokens for a moment, what it is? And the question that pops up is Gitcoin actually a social token or not?
No, Gitcoin has no token. It's funded by consensus, which is, I don't know if I should get into what consensus is, but it funds a lot of projects within Ethereum. So Gitcoin has no token. Mm-hmm. So social tokens are tokens that creators or developers, make in order to raise some money or fund different projects or, reward their fans. It's kind of, it's an evolving space, and each social token can have different properties. So for example, I could make a coin, or you could make a coin, Gabriel coin, right? And you could put it on Uniswap and make a market for it and assign a certain price to it. And you could say, if you send me 10 of these Gabriel coins, then I will have a 1 hour, content consultation with you, all right? Mm-hmm. And then they send you the coins, and you can keep the coins or you burn them, whatever. But that's just one thing, that it could be redeemable from different services. But it also could be like, if I am starting a project and people are holding my social token, I may reward them with early access to this project because I know they're, hardcore fans, right? So there's a lot of different things you can do with these.
Okay. So this seems like a great tool for creators and for communities to monetize and to incentivize the audience.
Yeah, yeah. It's not so straightforward. My feeling, it's not so easy to make a token that it actually um, has good utility.
But like
Yeah,
it would be that it would be kind of like with early stage investing, right? In the sense that let's just say there's like 1,000 whatever Gabriel tokens, and then in the beginning, you buy one Gabriel token for whatever $10, and then maybe the creator gets bigger and bigger, and then maybe 5 years later, the creator is like, I don't know, has millions of followers, and then that token that used to be worth whatever $10 is now worth maybe thousands of dollars. Would it work like that?
yeah, it would work like that. But again, like I I think that NFTs are better for this purpose
All right,
because
let's get into this then, and let's hear this.
yeah. Sorry, I keep dragging you over to
I
NFT.
was like, all right, let's do the NFT talk.
I think that tokens are they have a different meaning to them than an NFT because an NFT is just a collectible, right?
Mm.
And a token comes with a different set of responsibilities, I feel like, than an NFT. Because when you launch a token, you're trying to say, listen, I'm going to accrue value to this token somehow. You're going to get some benefits. But when you have an NFT, if you sell an NFT, that's it. You don't have any responsibility towards the holder of the NFT. If they want to support your project, they like the art, they like the collectible, and that's it, right? If the NFT appreciates, then that's great for the holder. But NFTs also have this interesting property that allow you to retain secondary sales, secondary market sales. So if I'm an artist and I create an NFT and I sell it for 1 ETH today, right?
Yeah.
And then down the line, I keep on creating and I keep building my brand. Down the line, that NFT sells for 10 ETH. I am going to get 20% or 10%, whatever you set, directly to my wallet. So I'm going to be paid residuals on this piece of work. And I think that is a much more elegant solution than just having tokens. I think that the NFT functionality is a lot more suited to that than rather than just distributing tokens and trying to sell the tokens. That's just my feeling here.
Yeah. No, yeah, I can see why. So then, do you think we are in an NFT craze / bubble right now, or do you think we're barely scratching the surface and 10, 20 years from now in hindsight, um, yeah, it will have been just the very beginning.
It's both.
Uh-huh.
Some of the NFTs that you have for sale are probably inflated in price just because they're NFTs, right? An NFT is just literally anyone can mint that. So a lot of these are selling for probably more than they should be. But I think that, so meaning if you buy one today, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, I don't think that necessarily it's going to be worth more. It's like because a lot of them are junk. But 10 years from now, I believe that there's going to be so many more NFTs in all like different parts of our lives, like going to an event. If you're going to go to a basketball game, and Mark Cuban said he was going to do this, that the ticket is just going to be an NFT, and you're going to scan the ticket, and then you're going to walk into the game, and you get to keep that ticket. It's part of like a collectible, right? It's also like proof that you went to this particular event. And maybe if you collect enough tickets, then you can get special items. Or, if you go to, you could imagine that if you went to 10 games during a season, the team may reward you in some way and invite you to a special, whatever. So in this way, like, you can build more engagement with your audience. So we're going to have all different types of NFTs that, yeah, and there's going to be all sorts of use cases that we haven't even thought of yet today.
Yeah. Like, do you have any potential crazy use cases in mind?
No, I mean, just like there's all sorts of ideas that you can do, and very creative ideas. But again, like, being able to have people come to events using NFTs, and being able to I mean, I think it's a pretty big deal to be able to have those liquid markets for event tickets, because I don't know, I'm sure you've been to an event, you bought tickets in advance, and then whatever reason you can't go, so you have to try to like sell the tickets.
Oh yeah, of course.
It's pretty annoying. So if the ticket was just an NFT, like, and you could have a market for it, that would be super useful, just as a, as a consumer, right? As someone who wants to, enjoy some form of entertainment.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that in itself is quite valuable.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Do you so basically your focus is entirely on Ethereum, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
Not necessarily. I mean, I'm not against any other ones, but I spend 98% of the time on Ethereum.
Yeah, that makes sense. Then probably one thing you hear a lot are like the gas costs. So basically, like you said, when you make a transaction with Ethereum in DeFi, you have to basically pay for the privilege of using the network, the blockchain. And right now, costs can be really, really high, to the point where you make a $100 transaction and then you have like $10 fees, right? Do you think this is something that's going to get fixed soon, or yeah, what's your take on that?
I think it's definitely going to improve over time. Technology has a way of becoming cheaper and faster all the time, right? So the issue of Ethereum being slow and expensive is, to me, just a temporary thing. It's not going to be solved by like magic, but 5-10 years from now, we're not going to be faced with this problem so much. And there already are solutions. Matic and is a Ethereum sidechain that I think is going to innovate a lot in this space. But we're already seeing a lot of cross-chain stuff. So I think that this is going to get more user friendly over time. But it could be that the Ethereum L1 itself, like where most of these applications exist, will be just like a institutional or like a whale network, meaning that if you want to get the extreme security of the L1 and you want to make sure all the transactions is settled correctly, then and if you have a good amount of funds, hundreds of thousands of dollars, then you're going to be willing to pay several thousand to transact on Ethereum, right? And then we'll have all these other L2s or side chains or ZK rollups that will allow smaller transactions to take place at much more cost-effective prices. So I'm not too worried about it.
Okay. Yeah, that could be a great solution to that. Yeah, I'm just asking a bunch of maybe noob sounding simple questions because um I want to just make this kind of like resource for people because I do get asked a lot of these things quite a lot. And I think A, you're better at explaining this than I am. And B, this is just one thing where like moving forward, I can just send people to this podcast, and um so uh maybe forgive me if some of those questions sound a bit basic.
Listen, my goal is to explain DeFi to the least sophisticated DeFi user. So I really do try to fill this gap where all the stuff, all my videos, all my content is trying to be as basic as possible. And there is going to be terminology that newcomers won't understand, but that's understanding the concepts like stablecoin, liquidity providing, and those type of concepts are critical to understanding how DeFi works and how to use it the best. So yeah, feel free to ask any simple questions. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah. Yeah. One question actually I got from my mom, and my mom
Mm.
is, non-technical. She was asking, okay, so there seem to be so many great basically bonds and like 20th century speak, where like, in DeFi, they give you whatever 10%, 15% for your money. And obviously right now, you get 0% interest rates, or like maybe you get a 1%. In certain countries, you get negative interest rates even, so you lose money. Um, but it's kind of the wild west out there still. So, how should a non-technical person that's new to DeFi go about identifying a trustworthy, let me call them DeFi bond that is worth, giving some money to?
Yeah, I don't know about the idea of a bond, but the example that I mentioned with compound, I think is something that everyone should be interested in, especially if you have money in the bank that you would like to lend out for a higher rate. So compound,
I just call it bond because it's kind
yeah.
of like a nice heuristic for people that don't know DeFi. It's kind of like a bond, but it's obviously not a bond. But yeah,
Well,
please continue.
it's like a savings account. Compound is a savings account. That's it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just very simple to understand, right?
yeah.
So I'm looking on their website now, and like I said, you can lend USDC for 5.7%. I said like 10% before, so I was a bit off. But these rates fluctuate a lot. In any case, 5% is still far more than you will receive at your bank or buying any type of, like a treasury bill or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think that if you want to like start to understand how these stuff works, then doing the steps that I explained with compound is going to be the best way to get started, because compound is extremely secure and it is very, very low risk. So, and it's very simple to understand. Um, all you do is you just deposit your USD coin and you wait, and it goes up slowly. And that's it. And and again, the rate you're going to get there is far superior to any rate in traditional finance, as far as just dollar yields.
Okay, so that's a good starting point. Do you have another starting point? Maybe if someone says, "Okay, I have a couple $1,000, I'm willing to, start investing in DeFi, playing around with it. I'm going to allocate whatever, maybe 30%, maybe 50% to compound." Where else should they look? Maybe.
So if they're feeling lucky, you can check out Pool Together. And Pool Together is pretty interesting. It's a no loss lottery. So what does that mean? So you put your tokens in, and then at the end of the week, all the interest of all the tokens in the pool are distributed to one to 3 people. So everyone pools their money together, and then there's a lottery, and whoever wins the lottery gets the prize. So unlike your traditional lottery, you still have your assets at the end of the week, right? You still have your tokens that are in the pool. So this is the idea of a no loss lottery, right? So this is kind of a fun way to, try to get some upside while actually playing it pretty safe and interact and learning as well, because you're interacting with different protocols and getting comfortable with different projects and understanding how to use them is definitely very important. So Pool Together is a nice one. That's, again, pretty secure, just very simple to understand, very easy to use. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do on Ethereum, but especially when you're getting started, I think that it's pretty crucial to keep it simple.
Yeah, for sure. Would you say, as far as tech and hardware is concerned, would you say first question, should people get cold storage, yes or no? And B, which cold storage hardware should they get in 2021, according to Gabriel Haines?
You, in general, should get cold storage, but if you're just getting started and you're just learning, it's not required. If you're trying to interact with DeFi and you're just putting in like a couple $1,000 just try it out, then you don't need cold storage for that. But if you want to start to put tens of thousands of dollars, then you should start to look into cold storage solution. The one I have is a Ledger, and Ledger is good because it connects with MetaMask, so it's very easy to use within Ethereum and DeFi. However, a cheaper solution, and the Ledger is not that expensive. It's like, I don't remember the price, maybe $100 for 3 or something like that.
Do you have the Nano X?
Yeah. I don't know the price, but it's not that expensive. But if you want even cheaper than that, you can get a Argent wallet, which is an app on your phone, your iPhone or your Android. And this is actually a very secure wallet. This is way more secure than MetaMask, and even in some respects more secure than Ledger. And there's a lot of nice features that come with using Argent. I can get into them, but it's very easy to use and it's very secure. However, you cannot connect to every different DeFi protocol. So if you're, a super user, then you can't use it for like your main wallet. But if you're just, doing some simple things like compound and pull together, like I mentioned, it's very good for that.
Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, those are two good options for people to get started, I think. And I also think that if this is the first time that you're hearing about DeFi, your brain is probably fried right now. So yeah, maybe we leave it at this. I think this is a good kind of intro explainer, first step sort of podcast for people to check out. And Gabriel, any parting thoughts, anything you want to plug? Now's your chance.
Yes, so make sure that you subscribe to my channel, youtube.com/Gabriel Haines. Got a lot of good content up there. You need to have some experience on Ethereum in order to understand maybe some of the concepts. But once you have the basics, I highly recommend you subscribe and listen, even if you don't understand the basics, to be honest, because again, the only way to learn is by going into the deep end and asking questions. So subscribe to the channel, and when you have questions, join the Telegram group. There's a link in the description of the YouTube. Join the Telegram. There is all sorts of people in there. You can ask questions, you can share information. Good place. And also follow me on Twitter. Twitter is the lifeblood of DeFi right now. I think that's where all the information is coming. And so, yep, that's pretty much it. That is what I suggest people do.
Right. And we'll link it all in the show notes, of course. Yes. All right. Thank you so much for coming on and explaining DeFi. And have a fantastic day, Gabriel.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for listening. If you like the podcast, please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes or Spotify, and share the episode with someone you know. It would really help me out a ton. New podcast coming out every Monday. See you next week.